Today's guest is the beautiful and brilliant Roslin. Originally from Persia, she's been living in Marbella for over 22 years. After working in real estate and for a major finance company, she launched her own bike rental business at Puente Romano and Marbella Club. On top of that, she's also a wealth and finance manager. Roslin is deeply passionate about empowering women to step into the world of investing and take control of their financial future. In this episode, we dive into what it's really like to run a business in Spain, the challenges, the rewards, and unpack what a wealth manager actually does, how Roslin supports her clients, and so much more. Enjoy!
People potentially don't know all of that. They just think, I come to them, I tell them to give me their money, I'll invest it somewhere, and it's going to cost them a lot, and they might lose money, but hopefully they won't. And it's so far from the truth. I had a lot of money for somebody that age because I was being paid London salaries. Living and working here. So I was actually cheeky. I would go party and I would go to Olivia Valaire's and I would have my own table, and all the guys would come and sort of say, oh, do you want to come to our table? And I was like, no, do you want to come to my table?
I have my own table.
You know,
Nice.
so it was already then I was like,
You're a boss babe.
exactly. I was like, no, you know. I don't come from an entrepreneurial family naturally. It was just one of those things that I decided that I want to do. I somehow always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. Honestly, I don't think I ever thought about the implications or, you know, a step further. What does it mean to be a business owner? It was just sort of like, well, I want to be my own boss. That was my thing, you know. I want to decide my own hours. What I came to realize is that, okay, you own your own business. You were working 8 hours for somebody else before. Now you're working 24 hours.
Yeah. So how much money should we be saving? Like, is there a certain percentage or?
So I say, and so many people don't know this and they don't have this. So then they end up paying huge fines when there is an inspection. So all of that I learned the hard way.
Well, but now at least it's nice
Now
when you
you
can
know.
help people. Do you consider yourself wealthy and successful? And what do these terms even mean to you?
I went on a 10-day silent meditation before my separation from Chloe's dad, and it was life-changing.
Tell me about it.
That they were in similar situations, but they couldn't leave, and it was because of the fact that they were depending heavily on their husbands. And I think that is where I started thinking that, okay, women need to know at whatever age that they can get themselves out of a bad situation because they have that security, and I'm going to show them how.
Hello everyone, here we are in the beautiful Sandon Shopping Forum, and I love this new blue corner, very Ralph Lauren style. It's stunning, and you are matching.
I know, that wasn't planned.
I know, and you look stunning. So thank you,
you.
Roslin, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, every time I meet you, we are talking about your work, and it's so interesting. And I just want to know more and more and more. So I was like, you need to come on my podcast so we can ask all the questions, but also people need to know this, and women especially. You're now, let's say, specializing in helping women with finances. So you're a wealth advisor, financial advisor, but of course you didn't start out like that. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and how did you end up in Marbella?
Okay, so I am. Where am I from? This is one of those charged questions. Very sort of
trick
where
question.
Where am I from? Confused. So I was born in England, and I have Persian parents. So both my parents are actually Persian, and I lived in Iran until I was 10. Then moved to Sweden with my parents and went to university there and everything. Got recruited out of university, headhunted to work at Hilti in the UK. Did that for a while, and then decided that I wanted to take time off, go travel around. I traveled around the Middle East, went back to Sweden, got a job, called one of my friends to say that, listen, I have a new job, but let's do something. Let's go on a holiday or something. And she was like, let's go to Marbella. I'm thinking, I have no idea where Marbella is. And I had literally no idea. She was like, oh, it's a cool place. It's in the south of Spain. My parents used to have a house there. Let's go there. I was like, okay, perfect.
So what year was that?
This is...
how old are you then?
Oh my God, so I am 25 at that age. So I
So
was.
I came to Marbella when I was 25.
Did
How
you?
weird.
Oh wow! So I was 25. I came to Marbella. After 7 days, it was 7 days trip. After 7 days, my friend took her flight and went back to the UK,
Mhm.
and I stayed. So I always
Uh-huh.
say I'm just on this prolonged vacation for 22 years now.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
know.
this is what happened to me, but not 22 years, but 15 years for me already.
You
I mean, it
see,
goes so fast.
time goes, time
Yeah.
flies.
And I just came for a summer. Also, well, I came for work actually. I didn't come for holiday, but I also wasn't sure I'm gonna end up here. But then suddenly some Maria just like sucks you in
I
and you
know.
can't leave.
I love it. I tell everybody, I was like, I fell in love, and they sort of say, with who? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, with the place. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. It was magical. It was sunny, and people were nice, and I was young, and
Mm-hmm.
I just had fun,
Mm-hmm.
So
So did you do all the party scene when you were 25? Did you go out?
massively,
Yeah.
massively.
I think
So
who doesn't?
I
I
know
mean,
who doesn't.
and
No, no, you have
whoever
to.
says no is lying because we all do it. We
I
all go
know.
to this.
No, no, no. I was such a party girl.
Mm-hmm.
Between 25 and 30,
Mm-hmm.
I actually partied a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out a lot, and um, I was actually very cheeky as a girl
Mm-hmm.
because at that point, so I started in real estate here, and then got headhunted and ended
Mm-hmm.
up in finance, and I had a lot of money for somebody that age because I was being paid London salaries living and working here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually cheeky. I would go party and I would go to Olivia Valaire's and I would have my own table, and all the guys would come and sort of say,
Yeah.
"Oh, do you want to come to our table?" I was like,
Like,
"No, do you want to come
oh,
to my
I
table?"
have my own table.
So it
Nice.
was already then I was like,
You're a boss babe.
exactly. I was like, no.
Amazing.
So yeah.
So, and how did you get into finance then? You said you were headhunted here.
So I was on a property. So when I came to Marbella
Mm-hmm.
originally, I walked into a real estate place because I realized that, okay, what do? I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of sales training from Hilti. I walked into a real estate. Somebody had told me that real estate is not regulated, so you don't have to have a license to be a real estate broker. Walked into a real estate and said, "Listen, I'm going to be the best salesperson you've had."
Mm-hmm.
And the owner happened to be there. He talked to me. He was from Manchester originally.
Mm-hmm.
I had lived in Manchester. So all of a sudden, we had
Uh-huh.
things in common. And he was like, "You know what? Why not? I'll give it a shot. Come
Mm-hmm.
back on Monday."
And you were
So,
like,
and
wow.
I did. And
Uh-huh.
I was there for a year, and we did loads of property exhibitions in those times. And I loved it, and I was amazing.
And you were probably very good at it.
I was actually really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But so in London on a property exhibition, there was a money for an exchange company,
Mm-hmm.
Money Corp. They saw me and they approached me and said, "Listen, we've seen you for a few days. We really think you should come work with us." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "No, I live in Marbella.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I could come back to London."
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Well, lucky for you, we're just setting up an office there."
Mm-hmm.
Or they had just sort of sat up the office,
Mm-hmm.
started an office. And so I said, okay, I came, did an interview with them, and started there.
Mm.
So that was it.
Wow.
I ended up.
But the word, did you have like interest in finance, or you just were they just nice people that you wanted to change companies because you were doing well in real estate?
So I had, so my background originally, I had studied business and finance. So I knew with Hilti, for example, I was a management trainee. So I was supposed to work within the company for 3 years in different departments and then become a manager in the company and eventually end up in the finance department.
Okay.
But before I actually reached that, I left. Came to Marbella, and I think real estate was a blip. It was more, I'm young, I don't know what to
Let's just
do.
try it out.
Let's try this out. I knew it wasn't my calling, while Money Corp was actually fun. It was more B2B rather than B2C type of a contact, and I loved it. It was good fun. It was good fun.
And how long did you stay there?
I stayed there, I think, 4 or 5 years. So my manager that recruited me, after about 6 months, he left. So he had already planned to leave, and unbeknown to me. And he sort of had hinted that when I leave, I want you to take over. And he left, and I didn't get the job immediately
Okay.
that he had left behind. And I was so upset. I mean, I fought tooth and nails to get the job because I was like, no, I've been trained for this. I deserve this job. And from London, they wanted to put someone from London here. And I literally stood my ground. I was like, no, I deserve this. I'm going to prove to you. And I did. So I got the job. I was the sales manager for a while. Then I became the regional manager. And I was managing and grew the office here massively. And Tenerife and Gibraltar, and I was working with people in Dubai. Until then, we set up our office in Dubai and in Portugal. So
Sounds like a dream job. I mean, for someone.
it was amazing. It
Yeah.
was a really good job, you know.
But what made you leave, or what happened next?
So it was a small it was a smallish company when I joined. So the owner was very much involved with the company, and throughout while I was there, he had negotiated with Royal Bank of Scotland and sold part of the company, and I actually had a really good relationship with him. So I knew as well that he was planning to leave. So at around the same time that he was leaving, I decided that, listen, the company isn't the company that I joined. So, and I had actually talked to them and said, and I wanted to progress. And they said, well, you can absolutely, we want you. You need to come back to London. And I didn't want to go back to London. So for me, it was a no-go. And we agreed that, listen, I want to leave. And they said, okay, we don't want you to leave, because they were worried that I would go to a competitor. I had to assure them that I wasn't going to a competitor. And eventually I left, basically. So that was it. I left and I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, but I'm sure as a financial advisor, you had a good backup of, let's say, you had a financial backup, so you can just think and see what's next instead of grabbing the next job.
Totally. Listen, from that point, I was very lucky. So I had financial stability. I told you I was earning really good salary. I had bought my flat in Marbella already.
So you made very good financial decisions already.
Totally. And I had good savings. So what I did was, actually, at the time, because while I was at Moneycorp, I had a company car. When I left, I didn't have a car. So I walked into Volkswagen and I was like, listen, I need a car, but I don't want to buy a brand new car, because, I mean, who does that? They lose value. So I need sort of like a second-hand car, but it needs to be good. And they looked at sort of my finances and they're like, yeah, absolutely no problem. I got a car and I drove around Europe, basically. Drove around Europe, drove sort of Portugal, South France, and Italy. Ended up in a little place called Marina del Bibona in Italy, and it was magical. And there were bicycles everywhere. And I just sat around. I had no idea what I wanted to do with life. Sat around and I was like, we don't have bikes in Marbella, or I haven't seen.
That's crazy, actually.
I know. And I came back and I was like, that's what I want to do. So I got my brother to help me out, and he set up this landing page for me. I bought the domain, marbellarentabike.com. I was like, yeah, there you go. If I can buy that, then it means there is no bike rental. He helped me up with the landing page, and literally, I think within days of the landing page going up, I started having inquiries. So there were people actually looking for bikes. There was just nothing here.
Wow. How many years ago was that?
16 years ago now.
Crazy. Yeah, you've seen a whole different side of Marbella.
Totally.
With, let's say, horses, no bikes, no cars.
There was nothing. There was no traffic in Marbella at the time. And in winters, everything would close down. It was very seasonal at the time.
Resort village.
Totally. Very resort feeling. So that's why I was like, okay, the bike thing will work. I knew it would be seasonal. Now it isn't anymore. And yeah, and I all of a sudden accidentally started a business that grew massively, because I sort of caught the trend of biking right at the beginning, and it just grew.
But you were now an entrepreneur, whereas you've been working for someone else your whole life. So how was
that was very interesting.
how is that? How is it being an entrepreneur in Marbella, or how easy it is, or how hard it is?
It was it's interesting. It was very interesting, because bear in mind, I come from a middle class family where my parents, as far as I remember, they were employed. When we were in Iran, my dad had his own business, and I sort of remember he had like an aluminium factory and doing windows and stuff for construction site. So I used to go on construction sites with him and sort of meet clients and things like that when I was really young. And but I never actually I don't come from an entrepreneurial family naturally. It was just one of those things that I decided that I want to do. I somehow always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. Honestly, I don't think I ever thought about the implications or, you know, a
What does
step
it take?
further. What does it mean to be a business owner? It was just sort of like, well, I want to be my own boss. That was my thing, you know. I want to decide my own hours. What I came to realize is that, okay, you own your own business. You were working 8 hours for somebody else before. Now you're working 24 hours.
Yeah, there is no hours.
There is no hours. You're working weekends, you're working nights. I mean, I remember once I was up until like 4 o'clock putting together bikes because at 9 o'clock in the morning they were supposed to be delivered, and it was madness. But yeah, I
But
think
there's also perks to it.
the perks, yeah, the perks are the fact that on a Wednesday at midday I can just sit and have a chat
Yeah.
with my friend, you
Yeah.
know. So it is.
But what has been the hardest part, would you say, like opening a business in Spain? Because it's not easy. Also, let's say the tax part and the accountancy and all these. I know we've spoken about this before
Yeah.
privately, but it would be interesting if you share with
So it
people.
was, so when I set up, I have to say I was quite naive because of the fact that I didn't have the experience. I didn't necessarily know what went into running a business. I had managed somebody else's business, but it's not the same thing at all. So I trusted very much on the people around me. So the people that's accountants, somebody, they're an accountant, I would trust that they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
If I would talk to a lawyer and they would say something, I would trust that they know what,
they're doing.
you know,
They're
what they're
supposed to be
doing.
the best in their field, no?
Totally. And I would never double check things, and I would never necessarily follow up things, you know. And I actually got in trouble because of that. Because so I had an accountant where they hadn't filed tax returns properly, and I ended up getting a huge tax fine, which was completely out of the blue.
And not even your fault in the end,
Not
because you
even
have
my fault.
hired a person to do their job, but if they're not doing their job, in the
Totally.
end, it's your fault.
The only
Well, you are
thing
paying
is,
for it.
yes. So what I realized that early on was things may not be my fault, but they're my responsibility. And because at the end of the day, it's my name on it, no matter what happens, it falls on me. So I need to sort of double check things. And I've, in all fairness, fallen into this trap a couple of times here where, again, subsequently I've trusted, for example, another labor accountant, thinking that, okay, they know what they're doing with employees, and they didn't, you know, and then some other surprise has come up. So it's the challenges of the business. But generally speaking, I think nowadays having a business in Marbella or in Spain is sort of the same as having a business anywhere in Europe. In those times, I think it was just more difficult, you know. So I find that when a lot of entrepreneurs come here now, and throughout the years, I helped quite a few people set up businesses here because I had set up a business, the same question that you asked me, people were asking me, listen,
The
what do I
contacts.
do? Who do I contact? Where do I go? And so I would pass on any good contacts that I have, or I would help them and tell them. And at some point, I had a list of these are the things you need to think about when you set up a business in Marbella, because you know things that nobody will tell you. For example, even if you have one member of staff, if you have one employee, even if you're autonomo, I mean, my company is an SL company, but even if you're autonomo and you have one employee, you have to have like health and safety measures in the company. Whether and this has to be documented. So whether you do it yourself or whether you hire an external company. And so many people don't know this and they don't have this. So then they end up paying huge fines when there is an incident. So all of that I learned the hard way.
Well, but now at least it's nice when
Now
you
you
can
know.
help people, you know, who have these questions. It's true, like because you come into a new country and you don't know anyone. I get also asked a lot
You
about
do.
contacts as well, who's a good lawyer or an accountant. So it is true, you have to find the best ones because there is a lot to choose from. But again, you have to really know which are the ones that are the best at their job,
Exactly.
not just doing the job halfway in. Or
And people do. This is so. My sister is an entrepreneur, and she told me once we were talking, and I was very frustrated about everything that was happening. She was like, "But Roslin, you've done this long enough. You need to understand. Not everybody is good at their jobs." And it was one of those aha moments in my life where I just went, "Oh my God, she is right.
yeah.
Everybody's not good at. Everybody doesn't love their job, so they do the bare minimum." And you just have to follow up and make sure that everything is done. So,
Yeah. and they have no empathy even, because they're making actually you lose a lot of money. But you're also a person. Imagine that happened to you. Don't you have like empathy towards people? I don't
No,
know.
a lot of people don't,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
but that is like the sad thing. Like you said, it's a aha moment. But yeah, not everyone is like you are.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have, you want to hope that people have their best interest in mind. But
I don't think many
I'm
people
afraid they
do.
don't.
No, and I'm one of those people. For me, relationships are super important. So for me, I mean, we have clients in Marbella Rent a Bike where they have literally seen me go through life. They've seen me set up, and they were my first clients. They've seen me pregnant. They've seen me 3 days after I gave birth with Chloe in arms in the shop, and you know, so they follow through, and those relationships I value. You know, those clients I value, and they come back because we give them good service, good quality, and everything. And same things with like, providers and everything. So I think a lot of people don't understand that they think they want quick money. You know, I gain you as a client today, and I'll do the bare minimum, and hopefully you don't understand it. And if you leave, listen, gained a few thousand from you during the months that you've been with me, and I don't understand the mentality.
Yeah.
I'm so different from that. So.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the businesses, they understand it is about the connection, the
Yeah.
client, keeping the relationship instead of just making quick
Totally.
cash. Even like, let's say with my dentist, who is your dentist, who's
Yeah.
also Persian.
Yeah.
You know, he's the same. And I've had bad experience with other dentists. They just want to make, let's say, quick money. They give me a huge bill, and then I go to him and he says, no, like, this is not necessary, this is not necessary, you know. So they just want to make quick money, but they don't know that I will not go back to them, but I will go back to my dentist.
And see,
So,
and
and
now,
this is the same with the
and we talk
mechanic.
about it,
Yeah.
and people know about this
And
now.
exactly, and I
because
do recommend him later to my sister,
I'm the
to my
same.
friends,
Yeah.
because I can actually trust him. So trust is super important.
Trust is super important. We've had so many clients come to us, and they're sort of like saying, listen, my bike is making a noise. Can you change the chain or change the cogs? And we're looking at the bike and we're thinking, you don't need to. You just, you know, there's a tiny tweak and the bike stops making a noise. And they're like, oh my God, like I've
Thank
taken
you.
it to 2 other places and they've given me a huge bill, and I thought it was costing too much, so I wasn't going to fix it. No, no, no.
Yeah.
And these clients come back because they realize that, hey, you know, there's a relationship here.
Yeah, and trust and
And
honesty.
trust.
So
Exactly.
I think that's why also your business has been doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
And how,
lucky,
so
very
how many
lucky.
years has it been now? 16.
16 years.
Wow.
So I've got bikes now in Puente Romano Hotel, in Marbella Club, and in a few other hotels that we work with. And the main base that is, you know, we have a industrial state basically with like 300 bikes or something.
Wow.
So,
So how many bikes do you have in total? Have like,
I think around 300, just under 300.
wow.
We had about 400 and something, over 400 before COVID, but then COVID hit, and somehow business changed, you know. And although at the beginning, maybe before COVID, we needed more bikes because the business was seasonal. So in the summer, we needed a lot more bikes than we needed in the winter. While now we find that actually, with the amount of bikes that we have, we can manage the
whole year.
fluctuation really well. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, you probably have a good boss. But besides your bike business, and like I said, you're also a financial advisor now, and you're managing a wealth manager, which I also thought, like, I mean, I always thought the wealth manager is like for millionaires or for, you know, very, very rich people.
Everybody
I guess
thinks
that's like the biggest misconception about
it's
a wealth manager.
Totally.
So tell me, who or how would you define it then, and who is it for?
So I normally say every smart person should have a wealth manager. Yes, that's simple. I think a lot of people, like you said, think that it's for, I have to have millions or billions. Otherwise, you know, it's going to cost me too much. The costs are going to be too high. And it's really not, because when you think about it, I sit with so many different people from different walks of life. And I talk to younger people who are just starting up in their careers, and we talk about money management and cash flow and regular savings and regular investing for longer term. I talk to retirees about income plan strategies and how they should plan their estate planning and inheritances and all of that. Talk to investors about how to grow their money and how to legally, avoid taxes and pay less taxes, which we all want
Of
potentially.
course.
So it's so different, many different things that you do, like that I do, and people potentially don't know all of that. They just think, I come to them, I tell them to give me their money, I'll invest it somewhere, and it's
Disappear.
going to cost them a lot, and they might lose money, but hopefully they won't. And it's so far from the truth.
Yeah, and I'm so happy because I actually I needed like a financial advisors for someone that I knew, and then I crossed my paths with you, and I was
I
like, this
know.
is the law of attraction, and it's really interesting, and I think I need to learn more about this because this is something that is not taught in schools, not even now, I'm guessing.
No,
So exactly, like, how do we acquire this knowledge? I mean, of course, we can come and meet you.
totally.
And as you said, there is no huge fees. And
There
how
is
does the
nothing.
process
So I
work?
basically sit down with people free of charge. I do a financial review with people, totally complimentary, because I feel like, and we in that we go through, where are you now in life? What are your financials? What stage of life are you in? What are your long-term plans? Everything. Then we go through basically what I call your life timeline, which shows you, okay, we are here today. Let's say you are our age. There will come a time where we don't want to work anymore. We want to retire. After that, there will come a time, inevitably, we all die. Okay, what do you want to happen in those spaces? What do you want to? How do you see your retirement? What do you want to do? Do you want to live here? Do you want to sell up and get a motorhome and travel around the world? And okay, what do you need to do that? And eventually, when we die, what do you want your children? What do you want to leave them? What legacy and what is going on there? Some people turn around and it's like nothing. Let them make their own ways, which is fine, And some people say no. Actually, I want my kids to have either a lump sum or regular income or some sort of inheritance. And we just see the gaps. Okay, where you are now, where do you want to be? Where are the gaps? And how can we close the gap? And that's what I do. And then I go back, I ask you a million questions, go back, potentially ask you some more questions, and go through everything, come up with some clever solutions and recommendations, and come back and say, listen, this is what I recommend. And it's then up to you to decide, okay, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? And when do you want to do this? So it's nothing, it's somehow not at all what people think.
Yes.
And when I tell this to people, they sort of go, oh, that sounds so much nicer than I
Yes.
thought.
It's almost something that you wish your parents would kind of teach you or help you with, because when we're starting out, or when I, let's say, went to university, I took a loan to go to university. You have to start paying your own rent. I started working, getting your own money. But of course, there's some logical way to manage money, but no one really teaches us those things. And our parents were taught these things.
Yeah.
So now it is like, who is going to teach us that? The financial
Me.
advisor.
I will teach you that. I
And
will
you
teach
should
you
be
that.
in school,
Yes. Well, funny enough, with the company where I am now, we actually went to Aloha College and talked to the kids that are just leaving to university, and they absolutely loved it. Did like a 2-day workshop. So I am going to talk to, it's on my agenda of things to do, to talk to my daughter's school as well and see if they want me to do the same thing there. And so slowly we will get to the schools.
Good. But how are you teaching your daughter? She's 11 now, right?
She's 11.
How much are you teaching her about money, or what are your beliefs around money, or
This is so
what
funny. So
do you tell
I
her?
think Chloe's been traumatized about money because I talk about it all the time. And when she was little, I tell you this story. So she was really little, and I decided from early on that she needs to know about money. So I started giving her coins. Like every time I would go out or come back, and I would empty my pockets, and I was like, Chloe, these are your coins. You can save them.
I do the same.
It's so
I don't
good.
know if it's good or bad, but
Well,
finish.
don't make my mistake.
I'll let you finish
Sorry.
your story.
Don't make my mistake, then it might be good. So she had basically these coins that became a pile of coins. And at some point, I realized that, okay, fine, I'm going to teach her about banks now. And she was little. She must have been not even 7 yet. Like,
Okay.
do you know what I mean? For some reason, I thought that she would understand
She's ready
this,
for that, you thought.
but she really wasn't, because she couldn't grasp. So I took this money with her, went to the bank in front of her, opened the bank account, and I was like, Sam, we want to put Chloe's money in the bank account because these are her savings. And Chloe's there smiling and everything, and everything was done. And we walk out of the bank, and she starts crying. And I just went, what happened? She's like,
All my money.
that lady took my money. I'm not leaving without my money.
Oh.
I've saved this money.
Poor thing.
And I just went, oh my God, this was too soon.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't understand that the
Money
money
can be
that
virtual.
totally, and she only had seen the physical. So then we actually had to go back and take the money out and tell the lady, listen, I'm so sorry, I need the money out. She needs her coins, and I want the same money. You know, I want the same coins. And yeah, and that was a whole plava. But since then, when she's older, I've actually opened an account for her. She can see her account in her phone, and she has a card, and she can go to Sephora and spend her own money.
But you give her like an allowance.
She gets allowances,
and then
she gets allowances, and she gets bonuses when, for example, if I want her to read and you know she doesn't do her reading all the time, I give her bonuses. I'm like, if you read, she can then click and say that, okay, I have read my book, so then I give her extra money. Or if I see that, for example, for a month she has saved her money and she hasn't spent any, then I'll give her interest. Right? So I do it like manually at the time, at the moment, but
that motivates her probably.
Totally, it does. So she is actually, it's the funniest thing. So once I told her, Chloe, you need to buy, we go and buy Swedish candy every Saturday. It's such a Swedish tradition. At some point, I was like, you know what? You're getting an allowance. You should buy the candy with your own money. So if we go and she has to pay with her own money, she buys this tiny amount of candy, like probably like €3 worth of candy. If I'm paying for the candy, she gets the full bag of candy. And I just went, hang on a second, how does this work? She's like, well, mommy, if I'm using your money, then I can get more. But if I'm using my money, I don't want to waste my money. I was like, oh, okay, so it's okay to waste mommy's money.
But it's good because it already is teaching them how precious money is.
Totally.
That I shouldn't spend all my money on this whole
Totally.
big bag of candy.
And she can see, so she basically, every allowance that I give her, automatically a part of it goes to her savings. So part of it goes away straight away, and she can see that part has gone
And
away.
she's okay with that.
She's okay with that because I've shown her where it
What
goes.
happens?
Yeah, so we basically did Chloe's holiday savings, we call it. So she knows that, you know, she's saving towards something. So yeah, so she's actually happy that the money is going towards her holiday, and it's going to be more fun because then she has spending money when we go away and everything. So she likes that.
So how much money should we be saving? Like, is there a certain percentage? Or
so I say, so there is, generally speaking, people say there's a 50-30-20 rule. 50% goes towards your needs, 30% goes towards your wants, which that can be discussed. That can be discussed. Yes, exactly, candy. And 20% should go towards your savings and investments and everything. A lot of people don't do that. I think 20% is the minimum that should go. And it's basically pay yourself first. When you receive your money, 20% should automatically go away without you even having to. You need to take away the barrier of entry. You know, the money needs to be automated. Your money needs to go away.
So you don't think about it.
So you don't think about it. And funny enough, when you don't think about it, it's you know.
Yeah, like with everything, it becomes automatic and it becomes like a habit.
You don't notice it. When you don't see it, you don't notice it that much. And it's a percentage because then everybody at any level can actually do this. I'm not saying save 200 or 2,000 because if I say save 20%, you know, if you're earning €1,000, you can still save 20%, and if you're earning 10,000, same.
So how much do you save? Do you save 20%?
I do.
Yes.
So I
like on the dot.
On the
dot.
dot.
You go like 50 sometimes?
And, well, this is the thing. So I had a stage. So it's very easy to give advice, but sometimes you don't take your own advice. So during the time when I had before I started with Moneycorp, when I was at the real estate, I was getting all these commissions and everything. At one point, I had actually burned through all my savings. So I didn't have any savings.
By going to Olivia Valerian,
By going there,
overspending.
I know, by overspending, by drinking up. I had drank up my money.
In champagne.
In champagne.
Oh,
in
no.
champagne. In champagne in Nikki Beach.
Oh, no.
No, so I basically literally was a 26-year-old, and bear in mind nowadays there are 26-year-olds that are millionaires and billionaires. I was a 26-year-old where I had zero savings. I had a basic salary and commissions. My basic salary had gone to the essential expenses that I had, rent and travels and all of that, phone bills. And I was waiting for my commissions. The company decided that they had financial problems and they were going to delay the commissions. I went for 10 days eating beans and toast at the age of 26 after having studied business and finance.
And after spending in champagne.
And honestly, I sat there for 10 days and there were some nights that I would cry and go, how did I put myself in this situation? And I think I had one of those Scarlett O'Hara moments where I sat there, I was like, I will never be in this situation again.
But sometimes you have to go through these horrible experiences, no?
I think
Because like you said, everyone can teach on that, but sometimes you have to go through the experience.
You have to go through it, I think. Yes.
I'm never going to make that mistake again.
This is the thing. And now I want, And at that time, basically, when I got, so you asked how much I saved. So at that time, I literally, the first commission that I got, I saved the whole thing. And then subsequently after that, I saved 50% of all my commissions and 20% of my basic. So I was saving a lot of money because I was like, I'm not putting myself in that position. And yeah.
But what did you do with the savings? Did you just
so I always
invest them?
Well,
or you just don't leave them lying in the bank?
No, that's the worst thing people can do. I was like, inflation, for God's sake, inflation, people. No, so I always say you need to have 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses in cash, in liquid, in the bank. So
ready to go.
Ready to go. So if there is any money that you keep in a bank, it should be your current account, what you're spending during the month, and 3 to 6 months of expenses. No more money should really be in a bank account because inflation eats up your money. What the 100 euros today is not what it could buy you 20 years ago.
And that's why everyone talks, oh my God, look at the coffee now. It used to be €1, now it's 3.60. Well, everything is going up.
Exactly. While 100 euros in the bank 10 years ago and today it's still 100 euros, but it doesn't buy you the same. So you need to invest, and you need to invest so that you get a return, so that your money grows at a higher level than inflation. So you should really have a return of around 8 to 10%. Inflation takes away some, you're still having.
So where is that good investment of 8 to 10%?
So it depends.
That's the $1 million question.
I know. No, so it depends. So this is one of those things that I need to sit with people and go through and do the 100 questions because it depends. So and
it's very personal, probably.
It is, and I'm very me as a person. I'm very risk tolerant. So I can literally, because I know that my investments are long term, like 20, 30 years time scale. I can happily sit, and right now I'm sitting on minus 50% of some of my investments because of the market volatility, and I'm happy with it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's not money that I'm using day to day, so it doesn't matter, But some people, they're sort of closer to retirement age, and at some point they might need to take out the money, so they don't have time on their side. So then all of a sudden it's a totally different discussion. Do you want your money, do you want to get income from your money that you have? Do you want your money to just grow? What do you want to do, So that's why it becomes so personalized. So you can't just say, I don't have a product to sell. Let's say this, let's put it this way. I think that's
But I think that creates a lot more trust as well. It's not like, yes, you have to invest in that. Then, it's like, oh, why is she just pushing that one product?
I think that's the thing. I think, a lot of financial advisors, wealth managers, they have products within the company that they sell. It's their product. It's their funds.
But you're a freelancer in the end
So
of the day.
I'm a freelance. I work under a company's umbrella, so that's because obviously you have to have financial licenses and everything. So although you have the education and you sit exams and all of that, the company needs to have European licenses and everything. So I work under somebody's umbrella where they are small enough to actually be able to give me the freedom that I can actually care about my clients and I don't have to have hundreds of clients on my books, but they are big enough to be able to access the whole market. So, and that's why in all fairness I chose to work. And yeah, that's what I do.
And what about crypto? That's probably also a
Oh
huge
my God, I'm gonna get.
subject. And I don't know, what are your thoughts about crypto?
Okay, so I told you I'm very much risk prone. So I love crypto, and I know that I think I must have lost like half of the audience. Half of your audience are gone now because I said that.
Well, but we are honest, and
No,
also this is your
definitely.
personal view. Like you
Totally.
said, if
This
your
is
clients are not interested in that or not believing or whatever, they don't want to take huge risks, then that's not for you. But like you said, I mean,
100%.
there's so many people who have become millionaires, billionaires through crypto, so you can't deny that.
No,
It's
I think I love the technology behind it. I love the whole blockchain technology. I can totally see that is the future, and that is the bit that interests me with crypto. I love Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin, so I'm not going to sort of sweep that around under the mat. I have Bitcoin. I do own some cryptos in my portfolio, and it's actually quite a big part of my portfolio. But yeah, it depends on everybody. What they want
I
to do,
think
what
crypto
they
is
want
not
to
going
do.
to I mean, I'm no expert in that field whatsoever, but I do think it is the future,
I think
which
you need to be careful where you invest it because there are a lot of scams and make money quick solutions, and they're the worst things. I think following those because you want to make quick money, that's where people end up losing money. I think if you do proper research and you think, okay, where are some proven, let's say, crypto, where Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're Solana, they're sort of big things that we know they're not going to disappear. And I know there are skepticals out there, people who say, but no, I actually, it's a technology I believe in.
interesting. But now, let's say your passion is now actually in more helping women understand the financials of their own financial investing and all of that. Why such a Where does this passion come from? Or you just see it around your friends or in Marbella? Do you think there's a need for it?
Okay, so this one is a bit close to home. This one is a bit personal. So I told you I've always been, after 26, I started having my ducks in a row and trying to have my finances in order. When I met Chloe's dad and we're no longer together, the relationship wasn't a fantastic relationship. It was quite toxic, and I managed to get out because of the fact that I had the financial freedom. And I think it's very important to sort of know that when you go through a bad relationship, potentially, any relationship, whether it's a work bad relationship or a private bad relationship, it's important to be able to get out of it. And I think it causes you an emotional trauma. But if you have the financial security, somehow the impact is less. Then you know that, okay, I can leave. I am financially secure, and I can then work on my emotions and build from there. But if you are stuck in a situation where you can't leave because you don't have any savings, you don't have any investments, you're not independent, you depend on that person's income, then you're putting yourself in a situation where you're stuck and you can't get out. You can. There are loads of women who potentially do, but I think the toll on you doing that is much huger.
Yeah, and the older you are, the harder it is.
Harder
And
it
then you
is,
have kids,
and you
then
have
you have
kids.
more responsibility also. So it's not just about you going somewhere and starting over.
No,
It's not
this is
so
the thing.
easy.
Because you have kids, like you say, you have school fees, and you still have your mortgage, and you have your life and everything. So that's why. So because of that, I realized that around me, around the same time, they were quite a few women, some of them my friends, that they were in similar situations, but they couldn't leave. And it was because of the fact that they were depending heavily on their husbands. And I think that is where I started thinking that, okay, women need to know at whatever age that they can get themselves out of a bad situation because they have that security. And I'm going to show them how.
So what would be like the number one advice that you don't even get to that situation? Or let's say when you get married, is there something you should watch out for? Or what would be like the tip for anyone who is who doesn't want to be in that situation? Is there something they can do already to avoid it?
Honestly, yes. I think as a woman, let's say, for example, let's take an extreme case. You don't work. You end up in a relationship where
You're a housewife.
Your husband is taking care of you and the household. Most of the housewives have allowances, save part of that. It's the same goes, it's the same 50, 30, 20. Save your 20%. Once you have 3 to 6 months of your expenses, then, start investing. Invest the rest and grow your money. And I mean, I don't want to sort of cause problems in people's marriages or anything, but I think you can be, it should be your finances should be separate from your husband's finances. And if that is what it is, that you need to have your own savings, you should have a communication with your husband and say that, listen, I am a more confident person when I have my own savings, when I have my own money. I show up better in a relationship when I can be independent. And I think that's a matter of communication.
Yeah.
But before you start all of that, I think you need to budget, which a lot of people just don't. I always say, I'm like, if you can't see it, you can't measure it, which means you can't improve. So if you don't know, for example, how much money you have a month, but you don't know what you're spending money on. Like I fell into that. I went through a phase where I wasn't budgeting, and when I started doing it, I realized I'm spending hundreds on subscriptions for things that I didn't even use or didn't even know I had at some point. And I think we all sort of fall into money goes out and we don't know where it goes.
Yeah, especially when it's, let's say, smaller amounts. Like you said, subscription of 10, 20, 30, doesn't 50, doesn't sound much. But you add it all up, like I said, it could be hundreds. And sometimes also what's happened to me, sometimes when I go back and check my bank statements, I've seen they've made mistakes. You think you've canceled, but actually they've been charging you for a year. And that is another 100, 200, whatever euros. But if you don't check,
if you don't check,
starts going.
this is the thing. So it brings it back to the beginning. Don't just trust that everybody knows. Even banks know what they're doing. Double check.
Yes. Yeah, because even I had an issue with a bank here. Like I'm an autonomo, and they changed. The bank was like, let's say, merged with another bank. So after they did the merger, they had like a problem in the system, so they couldn't take my autonomo payment, which is not even my fault. But again, like you expect people to everyone do their jobs right, but not everyone does. So trust, but let's say check, no control.
Yeah, exactly. Trust but control.
Yeah,
That's you just have to do that in life. So that's what I always say. I was like, first budget. Once you know where your money is going, start saving.
But do you think there's like you said, subscriptions is something that people fall into? What do you think in Marbella is something that people are maybe spending too much on? Is it the luxury bags, the cars, the yachts, going out?
I'm no one to. I mean, I like luxury stuff as much as the next woman. That's just. I think that's just.
We all like beautiful things.
That's just inbuilt in us somehow. We like beautiful things. But I do think there is you need to understand why you're spending. Are you spending because of you, or are you spending because of how you want to be perceived from the outside?
To show other people.
To show other people, at which point it's not even for you. It doesn't bring you any joy. I mean, if you buy something and it brings you joy and happiness, sort of more than just the moments where you pick up the bag, then by all means. And that is where your percentage of your wants come in, because again, we live in an era where marketing is huge and it's a psychological thing. So since people learn how to start marketing, we went away from needs, where we were spending money only on needs because that is how it was, to now you sort of have a lack always. And this is what's marketed to you.
You need it.
You
need it.
exactly.
Need it. Actually, you don't
and
need
you
it.
don't, because these are your wants, but they're sort of wrapped into a nice wrapper of needs. And you think, but I need that bag, and I need that latest sneaker. I sort of think, do you really? You know, how many pairs of other sneakers do you have?
Yeah.
So I think that's where people need to sort of be conscious spending, I say, you know.
But do you think that certain luxury brand handbags, for example, could be an investment?
Well, listen, we all know Birkins.
Because, like you said, yeah, Birkins sometimes can have a higher value.
They can, but I
later.
think, again, this is one of those things. I think a lot of people sort of think, I have 10 Birkins, so I don't need
I'm
savings.
sorted.
Sorted. The only problem is an asset, and a Birkin can be an asset, but a physical thing is A, only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it, and B, it's not liquid. So if you're in a moment of rush, you need access to money now, a Birkin is not going to help you, because A, you then have to sell your asset undervalued, you know, and B, you might not even be able to sell it. I mean, I told you I own 300 bikes. But if I need quick money, I mean, it could take up to a week to sell a bike, maybe two, maybe a month, you know. You can sort of count on your assets for liquidity. And I think that is a trap that a lot of women fall into. They sort of think, I've got this wardrobe full of clothing and
I'm gonna
bags.
sell them all, whatever.
I'm going to sell them. And there are so many, for example, secondhand sites and shops where you can do. But again, I have seen from people around me that when they come to do that, they get maybe a tenth of the price of what they thought or what the actual value would be. And they're in a situation where they need the money then. So they have to let go of their assets. So I think people just need to be mindful that, you know, beautiful things are not liquid.
Or just come and talk to you and you give them good advice about investments instead of buying 10 skins. But do you consider yourself wealthy and successful? And what do these terms even mean to you?
Okay, so this is so culturally, I told you my background, my parents are from Iran. And culturally, I think people generally people see wealth as a number in your bank account, and people see success as a job title or the car that you drive or the house that you live in. And I think at some point throughout this journey of life, I realized that for me, wealth is not a number in my bank account, and I define it as abundance in time, freedom of choice, and I think security. I think for me, that's it. The fact that I have the time whenever I want, that I want one afternoon not to work and I want to spend it with my daughter, or on a Wednesday midday, I want to sit with you, that I can just choose to do that without feeling guilty or without having to justify it for anybody. And the fact that I can, for example, walk away from situations where I don't want to be in. I don't have to do a job that I don't want to, you know. I happily just deal with the people that I want to deal with. And I think that is just the biggest wealth you can have.
Yeah,
The fact,
freedom,
choice.
basically.
You have freedom, you have choice, you know. You have the security to know that you can walk away and it doesn't affect me, you know. And success is sort of the same, you know. For me, I think success is, I don't compare myself to other people. And this is as well, this is sort of has come with age, because I think when you're younger, you do tend to compare yourself, at least to your peers and the people around you and society. And I think with age, I've realized that I don't compare. I compare myself to who I was 6 months ago, a year ago. And if I am better today, emotionally, financially, spiritually, then I'm good, then I'm successful, you know. And I have days and days, I tell you that, because some days you wake up and you're like, I don't
We all
feel
do.
successful because, you know.
But it's because of the hormones also.
Totally.
I mean, we're women.
We're women.
Christ's sake. Men don't know what we're talking about, but
I know.
women will. But what would be like the one piece of advice you would give to your younger self? If you could go back, whether it's financial or just any life advice or something that you wish you would have known.
I think financially, I would say invest sooner, start investing sooner. Because I said this the other day in one of my posts. I say it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And compounding. It's like if you have savings or investments that grow over 20, 30 years, the growth towards the end is so much bigger than at the beginning. So give yourself time, so as soon as you can, just whatever it is, just start investing money, after you have the 3 to 6 months, savings. So that would be on a financial note. I think on a life note, people are not always who they say they are. And I think, you shouldn't believe, and I've fallen into this time and time again, you shouldn't take things at face value. You shouldn't believe just because somebody says something, you shouldn't just believe it. And I think actions speak louder than words, because, just
So true.
yeah, and I think those are things that younger me just didn't know, didn't have it. Somebody tells me they love me, I'm like, oh my God, they love me.
But I think we all go through that stage.
Exactly.
And we want to, like, we'll say fall in love, you fall in love with someone's potentials, what they say they're going to do. But like in the end, you say, just look at their actions and just try to be observant from the side, because it's very hard when you're in a situation.
This is the thing.
It's always easier to criticize others and to see everyone else's life.
Yes.
But then if you have to look at your own life, you have to look yourself in the mirror. It's like, no, I'm fine.
I know. No, I went on a 10-day silent meditation before my separation from Chloe's dad. And it was life-changing.
Tell me about it.
So it was a 10-day silent meditation. It's a Vipassana meditation. It's super known. And you basically go through 10 days of no phone, no contact to the outside, no looking people in the eye. You eat minimal whatever is provided. You don't do any sports. You're basically sitting and meditating.
Like a monk.
Like a monk. You live like a monk, basically. And when you don't get outside impressions all the time, your mind somehow quiets and you learn to see things for what they are, not what you want them to be. And I think that was the biggest change in my life, where I could just look at life in general and situations and see them for what they are.
So you think that experience changed you a lot?
100%. I think that was life changing. And it was one of those serendipity moments that how I fell into that. I randomly met, so one of our clients' wives had walked into our shop one day when I happened to be there. And I started talking to this lady. We exchanged number. We said we would go for coffee. And you know how it is. You say that a lot, but you don't necessarily do it always. We ended up actually going for coffee. After a few weeks, she told me about her son that had done this meditation. And she was like, I'll send it to you. And she did. And again, it was one of those things of, oh, okay, fine. And I think a year passed before I actually went back, looked through our correspondence, and realized that, I had that from her. This is now the right time, and I'm going to go do it.
Oh,
And
a year
it was
later.
A year
Crazy.
later.
But you remember it somehow. It was in your
It's somehow,
subconscious.
yes, exactly. It was somehow there, and I knew I had to do it.
But you weren't ready for it maybe back then, or it
That's the
wasn't
thing.
the right time, or I believe in timing.
I do that. Yeah, I believe that. I believe sort of people come into your life for a reason, and I believe in timing and all of that.
Me too. And what about law of attraction, manifesting?
So this is a funny one. So I do actually believe in manifesting, because I've actually seen it happen. So it happened to me. When I was 16, I read this book. I don't even remember the title of the book. It's a Brian Tracy book, and he's very well known. He said in this book that something like only 3% of the population write down their goals and they're very clear about them. And those who actually write it down, they have apparently proof that the likeliness of them achieving their goals is 10 times higher than people who just have a goal in their mind. So at 16, I decided that I'm writing down my life goals. And I had a list, did a list, put it away. Then at some point, I moved to Marbella, brought some stuff back from Sweden. And in one of my books that I had brought back, one day I open the book and I find this list. And I go through the list, and this is 10 years later. And on top of the list, I have put, I want to live in a place where the sun shines 300 days a year.
Oh, wow.
Top number one of the list. And I had no idea that I would ever end up in Marbella. I didn't know where Marbella was. And I was here. And subsequently, I went through the list, and majority of the things that I had written down had actually come true. So I do believe in that. I don't believe you should be attached to your goals, because I think that somehow brings you unhappiness if you don't achieve them or whatever. But I do believe in that, make a list, decide what you want, and then put it away.
I think it's already the deciding of what you want, because a lot
agree.
of people just go through life, just work this, like TV, phone, without even
On
sitting down
autopilot.
and just like focusing on what do I actually want. Maybe it is not the bag. Maybe I don't want this job. Maybe I don't want this husband. Maybe I don't want all of this. Maybe I'm just doing it just because I think I have to. So I think that's why also it works, because you just have to also think, what is it that you actually want?
I think it's so easy to just fall into life. Things happen, and there are so many things that come from the outside.
Especially now, I think, with the screens, with the media
100%.
everywhere,
Yeah,
we don't have
100%.
so much of the alone time, or, that's why it's funny that we actually have to go to these retreats. We have to go to like be silent, be quiet, like back in the day, we were on the countryside and it was just the wind and the birds.
That's the thing. And you had plenty of alone time. And I
Yeah.
do somehow think that, I mean, if you can actually say people were happier in the old times, but I do think at some level people were probably happier because of the fact that we didn't have all those marketing what am I trying to say? Impressions. And
But they're also very smart. They know how to play on our dopamine levels and on the
that is the
instant
thing.
gratification and all of that. They know what they're doing,
Exactly. They know
and they're getting
what
smarter and better
this
at
is
it,
the thing.
and we're just falling into it
Yes,
without wanting.
yeah.
Because I do love social media. I use it for my work, but I even have to catch myself not to go into it, like random scrolling and things, because it's so easy to go there, and it's not even our fault, because it's designed to be like that.
Yes, it's so cleverly done.
But yeah, we just have to bring back, we have to have the awareness and set down the rules and find the balance. And yeah, you have a daughter of this age where I'm sure it becomes tricky with screens, and
it is. But in all fairness, I think with Chloe, we do try. Well, my phone goes off, and for anybody saying this, that I'm not replying to your text messages, my phone goes off at 9 o'clock at night. So it goes on sleep mode, and so does Chloe's. And then we spend time together, and we don't have any screens, we don't have any TV, and we either read together or we meditate together. We just talk about our day together.
Yeah. And it's good for the sleep also to be screen free a few hours before sleep time. Yeah. Before we wrap up, a little bit about Marbella, because this is Marbella life. So tell me about Marbella life. What is Marbella life for you now? What do you do on your free time? Where do you go?
So I spend a lot of my free time with Chloe, because in all fairness, she's just amazing. She's an old soul, and I love spending time. I learn so much from her on a daily basis. We go hiking, we go to little villages around Andalusia. I've discovered them at weekends. We like going to restaurants and nice places. We're not really beach people. We go on the beach for a bicycle ride, but we don't necessarily go and lie on the beach, I somehow think once you've lived here for a while,
I think that's what
you don't,
happens.
do you?
The ones who live here never tan or never swim,
I
or you know, I
know.
mean, we do, but not so much beach. I think it's
No,
a
you
tourist
somehow,
thing. I
yeah.
like it actually, and my kids like to go, but it's something that I kind of like
It doesn't
force myself
yeah, it
to
doesn't
do.
happen that often.
Yeah,
It's not a natural
yeah.
thing to do when
Maybe
you
if I
live
live
here.
next to the beach, I could walk to the beach. I
Yeah,
would, but I also have to, because you have to drive in Marbella
that's
a
the
lot.
thing. Yes,
So it's something to put all the stuff and go to the car, and it's a little
I
bit of a
know.
hustle.
In all fairness, if we do beach days, we go to Tarifa,
Yes,
and I tend to just stay overnight,
I love
and
Tarifa
so yeah,
and Cadiz and Portugal.
yes. Oh, Portugal is
The
lovely
whole
as well.
coast is,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's
because
very true.
Marbella is beautiful, but the beaches are, let's say, there's other better
They
beaches,
are
no,
better
that are
beaches.
here.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So yeah, I agree. And any favorite restaurants that
Oh,
come to your mind? And I will list the rest of them in my blog, like I always do with my
okay,
guests. So
fair.
you have to
Okay,
visit my blog.
there are
Maybe some
actually
hidden gems.
quite a lot. So this is a really weird one. So I went with Chloe actually to Mijas the other day to a restaurant because I was recommended it, and somebody said that this chef had Michelin stars in the UK, and he's now here. He has his own restaurant and everything. And we went. The Geranium it's called,
I know, I
and
don't know it.
no, it is actually really, really nice, but it was the funniest experience. So Chloe loves to dress up. And I was like, listen, we're going to a nice restaurant, so yes, you can dress up. And we went. The owner came up and talked to us and was really lovely, asked me what I felt about the food and the restaurant. And I was like, it's lovely, and the food was actually amazing. And turned around to Chloe and said, what do you think about the food? And Chloe turned around and was like, I love your restaurant and I love dressing up, but I have to say, when it comes to food, I think I'm more of a McDonald's type of a girl.
Oh my God. And who's there?
And I was sitting there going, oh no,
Well,
but
she's
listen,
honest.
listen, she's so, and I love this about kids
Yeah.
in general.
No filters,
No
honesty.
filters. And I mean, he and Steven, the owner, he laughed and we laughed together. And it was just one of those fun moments. And he understood. And I told him, I was like, next time I come with a group of adults, when
No,
we come
but my
over.
kids are the same. When I'm in the restaurant, I'm just asking like plain pasta, something simple, fish,
I know.
because they're making all these elaborate food sometimes. But no, my kids like simple
I
things.
know. That's the thing.
So
So
yeah,
Chloe decided that, yeah, she's a McDonald's type of a
so
girl.
she's
I
not
was
a
like,
posh. She's not
she's
a
not a
posh
posh,
girl.
posh food girl. She's very posh, but she's
Hmm.
not a posh food girl.
Mm.
So that is one of my favorite. I really I like the restaurants in Puente Romano. I have to say, I hang out around. I love Forum now. It's a new venue in Marbella, but I actually really like Forum because it's a complete type of experience. You can literally come here, have your morning coffee, sit and do a bit of work, go to the supermarket and do your shopping, go pick up your kid and go. And I love that. And the same with Puente Romano. You have this sort of whole experience. And I like that. I like the restaurants there. There is a sushi place in Marbella, Takumi.
Yes,
I mean, in
I
all
love
fairness,
it.
you can say anything you want. That's my favorite sushi place.
It is.
That's just how it is.
That's my absolute top like
That's
sushi place.
yeah,
I
exactly. And
love it.
again, I love the atmosphere. I love the owners. I love,
And the
it's
sushi,
just
I mean, you can say like there's no difference. It's just fish. Like no,
it's not.
like this. Honestly, I'm not like such a foodie, but this
No,
sushi is
I feel
just
like they put
very
love
good.
in the food.
I don't know. It,
It
it
tastes
must be.
yeah, it's
It's
different. It's
yeah,
different.
but it's just the atmosphere also is nice. The whole
Yeah,
restaurant is
definitely.
very very nice. So
No,
yeah,
no, no. I really like that.
me too.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, well,
know.
don't mention anymore because
Okay.
then people won't go to my blog. You have to go to
Oh
my
yeah.
blog.
Okay.
But last question. Where do you see yourself going in, let's say, 5, 10 years? Do you see yourself retiring in Marbella, or have you ever thought about leaving Marbella?
Oh, okay. That's
Or
very
you just don't think
interesting.
that far ahead?
I do. I set goals, but I don't necessarily out loud talk about my goals because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like somehow
Mm-hmm.
external energy just ruins that. But I think long-term planning, I mean, for the next, let's say, 5 years, I potentially would stay in Marbella because Chloe has school
Mm-hmm.
and she's now 11. So until she's, let's say, 18, we would potentially, so that she has a continuity,
Mm-hmm.
I would be here. And at the end of the day, I love my life here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I mean, if nothing is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason to change it. If it's not broke, don't fix
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
And you can always travel away and come back. And so for now, definitely, I think Marbella is for me.
So you're a
It's
Marbella
it.
fan.
Yeah, I am a Marbella fan. I
Me
am.
too.
22 years, for God's
That's
sake. I don't
crazy.
think anybody's been here 22
No.
years.
Well, no, I've had a few guests and that have been. I think Ian has been here a long time. Ian from Essential magazine. He's one of the very
true.
oldies that have seen Marbella in such different times. But yeah, not many people have so many years to show, and so many new people coming every day. So
I know it's nice though, I have to say, because now we're getting a lot of young entrepreneurs in Marbella, and it's becoming somehow more businessy as well.
Definitely,
Because
100% agree.
Yeah, because it was very much of a holiday destination, touristy,
But
resort
now it's
feeling.
digital nomads, entrepreneurs, a lot of tech people.
Yes. So you get your brain also gets stimulated, and it's amazing. So
one of my next guests, actually, he's a public speaker, like coach, and he also has organized TEDx events in Prague.
Oh, you have to
So I
introduce
mean,
me to him.
and he's like one of the new ones in Marbella. He's only been here 2 years, but more and more, let's say, entrepreneurs are coming here, and very
We
interesting
need more
people.
of them,
Yeah,
definitely.
but they're coming as well.
I
So
know.
I'm super
No,
happy.
this is really good. I like that. I
So
like
thank
how-
you so much for your time. I learned so much from you every time I talk to you. And when people want to get more information, I will also link your details in my blog so they can have a free financial coffee with you.
Free financial coffee, yes.
and have a little chat what you can, how you can help them, and yeah, I mean, I need to do that also. I'm no expert in investing and budgeting. Like, you really make me think about it. I'm thinking about it every day, to be honest now.
That's really good.
So
that's all I want.
And I'm always like
almost
dreading to meet you, because you're gonna be saying, don't spend on that, don't spend on the coffee. No. Like, no, I know you're not gonna be like that, but it is true. It makes me a lot more mindful of,
and I think that's important.
I have some, of course, I've invested like tiny bits of money, but I'm never like been so aware about it. And now it's almost like the seed is there, and now I can't get it out of my head.
Good.
Like, I need to really now follow through and see what we can do.
See, so that's all really I want. Excited. This is really good.
Yeah, and I've spoken to my sister and a lot of my friends, and they're all really interested. So I really hope you do an event soon in Marbella. I know you're planning something for September, but I think we need something sooner. Okay, but anyway, if there's no event, you can still contact Roslin, and you have your Instagram as well. So yeah, I'm really excited for women to get smarter in the financial areas.
Me too.
We all need that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So thank you for your work. And also, I have a little gift for you.
Ooh.
And I have my own little brand that's sustainable clothing.
I love that. Oh my God, I love
this
that.
T-shirt. I was like, I know, this is for you, moneymaker. I mean, we can all be money makers, because
I love this. Oh my God, I love this. Thank you.
How we spend the money.
That is
amazing. I hope you wear it.
I will as well.
And enjoy
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone. And make sure you also like and subscribe to my channel, because it helps me grow. And yeah, I can't wait to show you who my next guest is. Thank you. This episode is brought to you by Sandon, a family-run furniture company with a brand new flagship store in Forum Marbella.